We're good. We're recording now.
We're good. We're good. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Old Bollocks with myself, Howard H. Smith, and the wonderful Old Head.
The
That's you.
wonderful. That might be the only time I've ever heard anybody call me wonderful, but I'll take it.
It's not a word that gets used too often in the States, from what I can imagine. I mean, I do get American friends saying things like, when I say things like wonderful or brilliant and things like, and they're like, oh, what a quaint little word. And I'm like, it's just a fucking word.
It's just because nothing's wonderful over here, so we have no reason to use that word ever.
Well, it rarely is here, but there you go. So yeah, welcome. Episode 11, is it?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Wow, I'm almost professional. So welcome one, welcome all. We have actually been chatting for about 20 minutes before we started this. We said we should probably switch this on because the amount of rubbish that we were talking, it's probably worth recording some of it. So we can boring each other with our conversation. Why do that when you can bore subscribers as well?
That's I mean, it's more bang for their buck on your side of things. You know, they get bored more times than they would expect to be.
Exactly. Well, I look, and also listeners, viewers, behind the Patreon paywall of patreon.com/Howard H. Smith is the companion radio show that goes with Old Bollocks. So each episode, I do a radio show for subscribers to Patreon, and that goes out once a month. And when we do a show, I try and include tracks from all of the stuff that we've listened to, so people get, it's a companion. I mean, you know what the word companion means, right?
Yep.
So if you want to do that, sign up at patreon.com/Howard H. Smith.
And it's not just that. There's a lot of other things on the what do you call it? Patreon. God, my brain. That word was just like really far away. I had to reach for it, and I finally got it.
Yeah. It's there's all sorts on there. There's like album breakdowns, live. There's a live podcast. You can join it. You can join that. You can insult me over Zoom once a month. So yeah, sign up or don't. I realize money's tight. Things are hard. You've got a bit of spare cash. Sign up at Patreon. If you haven't, don't. And if you're already a Patreon and things are tight, find something else to cut out your bills. Don't Patreon.
And now here's where I do my ad for this wallet. This new wallet that I don't know. I don't have anything to promote.
Oh, yeah.
What is that? Why did that make me want to do that thing that you guys did a few times, which is that right about now is the time will I have a pot noodle?
Because it's an interlude, isn't it? It's and right now I'd also like to do a plug for the wonderful Old Head YouTube channel. For those of you who haven't already taken a visit to Old Head Land on YouTube, then please do. There you will find Old Head, Stephen Ivy right there, and some other bloke from England that sounds like he's from Bristol/LA. And they do lots of brilliant podcasts, lots of brilliant reviews and lists, and it's really good. And you've got a really good vibe between the two of you.
I mean, we've been doing it for a couple of years now, so I would hope so.
yeah, and it's such a good vibe between the two of you that I stopped listening because I became jealous. It's just. Yeah, I don't need that. I don't need that shit flaunting in front of my face.
I think we have a pretty damn good vibe as well. So let's not overlook that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, dude, but I'm all about exclusive, and you just hoe around. So don't make out you don't.
Hey, right. You know what? Don't shame me. Don't slut shame me. Okay?
yeah. And pod shame you.
Let's maybe we should just get into it because we do reviews, by the way. If you're wondering, there's an album review component to this show.
Yes. Yeah. It's not just gibberish shit.
It could just be an hour's worth of promotion, and then we go, all right, later, see you later.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd be up for that, but I assure viewers that's not what this is about. This is about giving you our opinions on some of the latest releases that, frankly, you may have missed, and in some cases, you there's no way you've missed it. And in some cases, boy, you wish you had missed it. You know, we do it all here.
And this, I mean, I sent you all of the ones I'm going to talk about. If you've listened to what I sent you, you've now heard them all.
I have.
And I don't know if you have other ones that you're going to talk about or not, but we at least have 4 that we're going to discuss today.
Yeah, I do. One I mentioned on the last episode, which actually, do you know what? Fuck it, defy convention. We have no rules on this show.
Hell no.
I'm going to leap in with an album that I mentioned on the last episode, just to kind of like tie that up. And that is Slipknot, The End So Far.
We have not. You did not mention it last time because it came out in between our episodes.
Jesus, really?
Yep.
Did I not mention it? Oh well, well, okay. It turns out I'm going first.
That's all right. I've actually heard this album because in about a little over a week, the new Cranked and Ranked is going to be Slipknot. We rank the Slipknot albums.
How can you do that? You don't like them? Did you have to go out and get all the albums?
No,
I just to them frantically.
It's Apple Music, and I went through their discography and I gave them a really good shot. I'll get it. I'm not going to give anything away because maybe I've all of a sudden become a big Slipknot fan, and you don't know that. Everyone's going to have to tune into Cranked and Ranked, but I will happily talk about this album because I have heard it a couple times now.
Right. Okay. Well, that's cool. Okay. Well, and again, listener, viewer, no. We had no fucking idea either of us was doing Slip. So we're here now. This is how this works. What you just listened to is how it fucking happened. Okay.
It's that magical. There's a magic between the two of us that nobody else could really like conjure up the way that we do. So, you know. Yeah.
The amount of planning that would have to go into making this look as unprofessional as it is. No, it's not that. It's not that thing. So, Slipknot, The End So Far. Okay, well, it starts with one of the worst Slipknot songs ever.
Okay, so let me stop you there.
Yeah,
because it starts with one of my favorite Slipknot songs I've ever heard.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. Well, what we're going to probably, by the sounds of it, I think we are going to. This is going to be a passing the torch kind of review, and I think this is where somebody who's been into Slipknot since the early days is going to be passing the torch to somebody who's maybe just found something about Slipknot that they like, because ultimately it starts with the word, despite everybody watching and listening, old head doesn't like Slipknot or didn't like Slipknot up until this album. We don't know yet. We're going to find out. But if he says that the opening track is the best Slipknot song he's ever heard. If you like Slipknot, you're probably going to be disagreeing with him, and you're probably going to be disagreeing with that song anyway.
Because it's essentially a pop song. It's not like there's nothing metal about it at all.
No, absolutely. And this is kind of where this album lives. It starts with, daring. We're putting the song on first. It's not heavy at all. It's acoustic. You know why? Because we're fucking mental. We're Slipknot. We wear masks. Come on. We do what the fuck we like. And what they do is they start with the shit first. They serve up various turds towards the beginning of this album. If you listen to this album backwards, it's a very strong album that unfortunately tails off at the end. If you listen to it in the right order, it's a heap of shit that gets better. But I've actually got to the point now, and everything I've said about this album, which isn't a great deal, let's be honest, because that's kind of how I feel about it. I feel like I'm done with Slipknot. I feel like I'm still listening, but it's out of habit. It's out of, and even when it works, even when it's good, and even when it's rocky, and Corey's saying motherfucker and doing his triplet rhyming couplets and all that bullshit.
Rhyming motherfucker with cocksucker, the beautiful lyricist that he is.
To be fair, that's a bit cherry picking. You can do that to any lyricist. But I take your point because it is kind of what I was saying.
Yeah.
But there again, that's the deep love for Slipknot that I have. Like, I'm slagging them off. You join in. I want to defend them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I am slagging them off.
I just thought it was funny that what you just said about Slipknot is exactly what I said on the last episode about Megadeth. I said, I think I'm done.
And you know, as I was saying it, I was thinking, where did I hear this last? And yeah, you're right.
It's like tune into Old Bollocks, where we're constantly ending our relationships with major bands every episode.
yeah, absolutely, and stealing each other's lines. So yeah, I and ultimately it just got to the point where I was just like, do you know what? This is like, and I was just like, yeah, this is, you know, it's just not. No, it's not for me. It's not working anymore. It's just not working anymore. And literally, I feel like it's not working anymore because it's almost the polar opposite of what Corey Taylor said recently, which was about, you know, not being held in by expectations of fans, and, you know, and doing things really different. And he did say, you know, well, you know, granted, not massively. And I just think, nah, I'm sorry. You know, you've done some bits and pieces here and there, but can we be serious for a minute? You play fucking arenas. Okay, yeah, you know, the lead singles are predictable as fuck. There is a Slipknot stencil that you use to write a song with. And occasionally they go outside of that, and it's like they want a big pat on the back for doing it. And the other thing about this album, by the way, I've since purchased.
Something
this is
there.
Brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, there is something. Wait,
that's how great. That's how great that album is. You see right through it. Oh, there we go.
I bought the new Machine Head album right now. Despite the fact that one of the things that annoys the fuck out of it on me about that album is the overlong intros and bits and pieces like that. And what I found with the Slipknot album as well is there's too many songs on it for me where it sounds like someone in the studio has gone, is everybody on this song? And like either Sid or Clown has gone, I'm not. And they go, oh right, okay. Go and just fuck about for a minute and a half. Right, okay, we'll put that on the beginning of the song then. Bingo. We had a 4-minute song. Now we've got a 5.5-minute song because these two fuckwits are going to make a fucking pointless noise for about a minute, and then we're going to start the song. And it's fucking pointless. It's absolutely fucking pointless. There's no need for it whatsoever. It doesn't build an atmosphere. For a fucking minute, fuck off. Just no point what's other than Sid gets to feel like he's still relevant, you know, or Sean smacking some fucking bin liner with his bags and his baseball bat and being let loose on being able to make videos, which he clearly can't. And yeah, it's I think it's time for me to just step back and go, whoa. I think I'm done.
I think that if I was a longtime Slipknot fan, because I honestly, I bought their first album when it came out and I really liked it. And then I fell off very quickly after that and have been randomly listening to songs here and there.
Can I be an annoying pedant and say, when you say their first album, do you mean their first album or do you mean their first major release?
I mean their first as Slipknot with Corey Taylor, like the first, right. what they consider their first album. It was the first one I knew about because the other one was an indie release.
It's like Kill, Feed, Repeat or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
But one of my biggest gripes. So I don't. This is not an album I'm going to go listen to. You know, after I'm done with with this and done with ranking Slipknot and my Slipknot adventure, this is probably not an album that I'm going to go back to and listen to again. But that being said, there were actual qualities of the album that were surprising. And the first thing is, over the last 2 albums, I've always been that person that says, I don't know why Corey Taylor is in that band because he's not a good lyricist. He's not a good singer. His yelling voice is pretty cool. It's pretty big and powerful. But now something has happened where he's come around, and when he sings, now I'm like, all right, I think now when he sings, it doesn't sound so awkward and nasally and weird.
Right. So how many albums? How many albums and how many years into their career
it took them 7 albums.
Has Corey waited to get the stamp of approval?
He doesn't need me. Everybody loves him, but except for I think I'm the only person that doesn't like Corey Taylor.
Absolutely, you are on this podcast.
So that part, I was happy with that, because when he did break into the singing parts, it didn't make me go, oh, why? So it was fine. But I really enjoyed that first song, not because I don't give two shits about whether or not it was Slipknot. I just heard the song and I'm like, this is really good. I just really like this song. And then the next song started and I went, oh, there's the Slipknot template you're referring to, where I'm just like, oh, now this, because it literally has that. They do the same kind of thing on every single album. There's at least one song that sounds one particular way and another one that sounds another. It's like they do have a tick box.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, because I'm assuming that, because you've been into them for a long time, you're in the camp of they're repeating themselves and you're kind of done with it. Whereas I think if you were just a rabid Slipknot fan, there's a quality to this album that's undeniable, that if you're a huge fan and you just want more Slipknot, I think this is perfectly fine. And I can understand those fans being bummed out by the first song, but honestly, there were parts of the album that I thought were catchy. But this goes into all their albums. Every single album I've ever heard by Slipknot now, which is all of them, there's moments on every album where I go, oh, that's a cool part. If only the rest of the song was as cool as that part. And this album is really no different. But I think the reason why I actually enjoyed it and appreciated it was the fact that the one thing that was kind of keeping me away from Slipknot, I don't know if I've gotten used to his singing or he actually has gotten better. I'm sure he's gotten better. I mean, dude has been singing for however many years. You get better. That's just how it works. You practice. But overall, I just thought it was a good album as a Slipknot album. Now, but I do understand that if I had been listening to their albums and then there's just another one, and the only real standout thing from it is this song where they just said, oh, fuck it, we're going to do something that doesn't sound like Slipknot at all, I might be a little bit bummed out by it. But for a non-fan, I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. So
okay, well, I mean, to be honest, there's a whole lot to unpack there. One thing I need to get out of the way, right out of the gate, is that when I got Slipknot's first album and was blown away by it, I was already 30 years old.
Yeah.
So my attachment to Slipknot is not the undying love that I have for, say, a Slayer or or a Metallica or someone else that I can't think of.
I think I was
a Descendant. I was
20. I was 21 when that album came out, so I was already drinking beer over here. But
so I was drinking beer, buying guns, and shooting girls.
That's the American way, right there.
That's it, right? So basically, I'm kind of like, they're not one of those bands that are woven into my DNA. So if you're listening to this and you're younger than me, which fuck me, I hope you are, and that I'm explaining to people out there who are totally in love with Slipknot and love this album, I'm explaining why maybe I'm getting off the train at the next station, at this station. It didn't hit me in those years where it's like it gets into your DNA. You have no choice. You are going to be buying albums by this band until you die, because that's when they hit you. And it's got to be early. It's got to be early. Now that's not an opinion thing. That's a science thing. Your brain is still forming. And that's why most of us, the music that we get into in our sort of, teens, late teens, is music that we adopt for the rest of our lives, because it nourishes a part of our neutrons, maybe, I don't know, possibly, our brain waves, our thoughts. But
it all sounds great.
Doesn't it just? Yeah. this is a lot like a science podcast. Um, so I'm basically I'm doing a shit job of saying that like it's a physical thing. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just I'm done, and that's why
Yeah.
it's just not. It's just not working for me. And they're not a band that have been around all my life, and I'm not growing up with them. I'm the withered professional looking back at them, going, yeah, must try harder, could do better, you know.
Do you think? Do you have an idea? Like, what could they do that would bring you back on board? I mean, would it have to be an album where they completely altered their sound and try completely new song structures that nobody's expecting? Like, what could it be?
No, do you know what? What's really sad is if they just tried to, and if they just tried to recover, they just tried to basically record the first album again, because I think it's one of the most fucking amazing records I've ever heard. And I heard it, I mean, it was old school here, HMV Records listening post. And they were on the cover of Kerrang, and everybody was going on about them. And I'd like seen them here and there and just thought, what a bunch of dicks.
Yeah.
And it was on a listening post, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. All right, whatever. I'll give it a listen. And the intro's there, and I was like, all right, whatever, skip that. Dun, 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 dun. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. I didn't even listen to the whole song. I got about 3/4 of the way through it, took my headphones off, bought the CD, sacked the shopping off completely, sacked off the reason for going into town in the first place, got in my car, drove straight home, put the album on twice back to back, and just walked around the house grinning like a fucking idiot for about 2 hours. And it absolutely just blew me the fuck away. The trouble is, like any drug, you keep wanting, you got to up the dose to get the same high. And I think that's where I am. And I think the dose is now so watered down. We're so far away from that initial, that initial rock of rock. It's now so diluted. We're now so far down the chain that, I mean, the first time I saw Slipknot's first gig in the UK, when they were still fighting with each other, when they were setting fire to each other, when they were pissing in bottles and throwing at each other, when they were properly dangerous band.
Yeah.
Well, are they a dangerous band, or are they a band who's got, fucking bobbleheads of them all that you can buy, and nah. Also, fun fact, was in a record shop when I bought the said Machine Head CD, brand new, $7.99. Ooh, bargain. Lamb of God, new album, which I'll get onto, $7.99. Slipknot, new album on CD, $7.99. Wow, this is really cool. How much is the Slipknot album on vinyl? $41.99.
Yep.
42 pounds for the vinyl, and the CD is $8. Yeah. You can buy 6 CDs for the price of the vinyl. It's fucking ridiculous.
But I mean, to be fair, if I was a fan, I would pay the $40 for the vinyl, just because that's the kind of fan I am. Which I guess I could segue into the first one I'm going to talk about, because I've remembered my records today. I've only got 2 of the ones I'm talking about on vinyl, but
oh right. Well, I hope it's not. I hope you haven't got one of the ones that you sent me.
Well, I haven't got one of the ones, but I've got. There's one particular album, and I don't know. We'll do this one first.
Yeah. Okay.
We're gonna do Dead Cross.
Yay!
Dead Cross 2.
Yes.
Which is the second Dead Cross album, obviously, because it's titled 2. How clever. Which is, if you don't know, kind of a super group, because it's got Mike Patton. It's got Dave Lombardo on drums. It's got Justin Pearson, which some people, you say Justin Pearson, they go, ooh, because, back in the day, he was in a group called Swing Kids, which was like a technical hardcore band that were really good. And then he was in The Locust, and he's a dude that's been around. And then there's a bass player that I don't know who the fuck he is, but they
if it's not Cliff Burton, he ain't getting a fucking mention.
He was in the band Retox. That's all I know about him. I don't know. Doesn't have a long list of credits, but so I was a really big fan of the first Dead Cross album. I thought it was great, really energetic, short, fun, punchy. I'm a Mike Patton fan, but I'm not a Mike Patton super fan. He occasionally puts out things where I go, it's not really my thing. But I'm big enough to where if his name's on it, I'm definitely going to go listen to it. Yeah. So I was looking forward to the Dead Cross 2 album, and I got it, and I've listened to it a few times. And I like the fact that it's different. And when I say different, it's not like a completely different band, but they definitely they definitely have expanded the songs a little more.
Yeah. I think it's shifted big, but
and then it appears that there's other vocalists on this one as well, because I only remembered hearing Mike Patton on the first one, but you clearly hear, I think it's probably Justin doing other vocals on this too, but it's still got the chaotic qualities, the punky qualities, the thrashy qualities, if you want to call it that. I really think right now, the way that it feels to me, I don't like it as much as the first one, but I think it's because there's more to unpack. And so I think it's going to take more listens, and then maybe I'll end up liking it more. That being said, though, I have the same gripe about this album that I had about the last one. I don't think the production is good enough for the music. The production should be beefier and heavier. There's occasionally parts where it sounds like Dave Lombardo was playing on a really tiny drum kit, kind of off to the corner. And I'm just like, well, why would they do that to his sound? Why would they make it sound so little? He's fucking Dave Lombardo.
Okay. Well, okay. Let's segue straight into production.
Sure.
I think the production works, and I think it works for the music, and I think it works for what Dead Cross is.
Okay.
I think every musician leaves their ego and their sound at the door, and then you come in to the Dead Cross room, and this is what we do with this band. Yeah. So Dave, you don't get your big fucking studio drums. Mike, you don't get this beautiful, rich, right at the front of your face, deep vocal sound. Bass player, whoever you are, fuck off. It's kind of so basically for me it feels like a bit of a garage band for Dave Lombardo and for Mike Patton. Hence I think that's how they want it to sound, because they have the money and they have the capability to make that record sound any way they want. So the reason it sounds the way it does is that's the way they want it to sound.
I agree, but sometimes I get the feeling that they're afraid to be metal. And so the production, the production is them going like, we can't turn these up that loud or turn the distortion up to past this point, because then people are going to think we're metal, and that's not cool. And I don't know if that's true, but I just get that impression. And so as a metal fan, that's why I don't need the production to be like really fancy and blown out and ridiculous. I just feel like there's some kind of punchiness that isn't there on some of the songs that I wish was there.
Well, to drag in another project that Patton and Lombardo both play on, the Mr. Bungle thing proves that they're maybe not afraid of metal, and that's not the case. It's just that Dead Cross is this thing, and Dead Cross is always supposed to be more punky, and I just think that it's like, I think they're like, maybe there's a little bit of that, not wanting straying too much towards metal, not like, oh, we don't want to sound metal, but more kind of like, no, like we want to keep its punk roots, its punk ethos. That's where it comes from. So we want this kind of, and I know what you mean, it's that kind of not even lightweight production, but it's a production that could have more balls. It's like it's been deballed on purpose. Like it's been spayed, as we'd say over here. Like, it And so, yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
So that's the production. My feeling with the album is, I thought the first album sucked.
Oh, all right.
I didn't think it. I was so disappointed. Two of my favorite artists, and they got together, and I did not like it.
Yeah.
I to the extent of, I couldn't tell you a song title on it. No, I was like, no.
Okay.
This, when I saw it arrive in my inbox, I thought, well, now this would be interesting. I wonder, if it's more of the same, this is going to be a very short listen.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's not. It actually took me by surprise. For me, this is not that I remember the last album, but this feels a lot more punky. It feels a lot more maybe quirky is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So, nightclub canary. It's just
that's like my favorite song on the album, I think.
Yeah,
just
totally.
that.
Oh, absolutely. I listened to it this morning and I've been walking around the house all day going, nightclub canary.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to like about it. And I haven't listened to it enough to or I haven't had a chance to listen to it enough. But unlike a lot of stuff recently, like where, for instance, Slipknot that I've listened to and thought, oh, there's some really good stuff on that. But at no point have I gone, I must go back and listen to it. Yeah. Whereas with Dead Cross, I've been like, this needs more listens because there is I like it.
Yeah.
But there's more to like here than I'm getting first time round. So
yeah.
So it's a thumbs up from me, but for maybe slightly different reasons.
Same for me. And I have to say that as much as I do think that it'll take more listens, that's exactly what I want from a band when they do another album. Yeah, I would like it to be one where I go, oh, there are things I like, but there are other things I feel like I need to go back, and listen to more. Which honestly is the same exact thing I can say for the other two albums. Well, two of the other albums I'm going to talk about. I mean,
that's I know exactly what you mean, because ultimately I go back to my this is a perfect example of it happened to me. I got two albums at the exact same time: Flotsam and Jetsam, When the Storm Comes Down, Sacred Right, The American Way.
The
American Way I couldn't stop playing because it sounded fucking great and it was really cool. And Flotsam and Jetsam, Storm Comes Down had that snare drum. Thanks, Alex Perialis. What were you fucking thinking, you deaf bastard? And
we've talked about this before, and it doesn't really bother me. But
well, you're wrong. You will voluntarily listen. You will voluntarily listen to Saint Anger. So,
I voluntarily love Saint Anger. So yes, I'm.
Yeah. Okay. So those two albums, like American Way, so easy to get into. Flotsam and Jetsam, so difficult. Within 3 to 4 weeks, I'm not even playing American Way anymore because I've discovered its lack of depth. And basically 3 weeks and it's done. It's not worthy of any more listens now because there's not enough meat on the bone. However, When the Storm Comes Down, I'm still discovering bits of that a month, 6 weeks later. And then 6 months down the line, I'm still playing it, and that's the one. That's the album. That's the one where you're going, wow, this came out 6 months ago and I'm still playing the fuck out of it because it seems to give me something new every time. It keeps giving. I think that's why I get so picky about so many bands, because there are a lot of bands that have done that very thing where they've put out an album where I know that it's good, but it takes me a little time. Yeah. And I wish that more bands would try to do that these days. And lo and behold, Dead Cross did that. So, good on them, as they say. Well, yeah, but unfortunately, it's the exact opposite of how people consume music, which is you got 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you used to get a song. Now you get about 20 seconds. So, good luck to anybody in a band. Well, that's me.
So where do you want to go
next then? All right, okay. Where we
how many do you have that I'm not talking about?
One.
Okay, well let me just move into another one real quick, just to get the other one. The other vinyl I have, which this is one. If this is the one, because I'm getting the idea that there's one that I sent you that you don't like, and if this is the one that you don't like,
We're gonna fall out.
We have to have a discussion,
Okay.
because this is absolutely in my top 5 albums of the year.
I know what it is. I know what you're gonna hold up.
You may not. The debut album from Hammered Hulls.
Yeah.
And this is a fantastic album. It's same thing. The more I listen to it, the more I'm like, there's so much good shit here. Hammered Hulls, kind of, not really, not a super group in the way that Dead Cross is, but they're notable people in Hammered Hulls. You've got Alec Mackay, who's Ian Mackay's younger brother, who's also in a whole bunch of bands in the 80s. He was in, what was it? The Faith. I think the Faith was the band he was in, and then I think he was in a band called Ignite or something like that. Anyway, he's been around. And then you've got Mark Cisneros, who's an incredible guitar player. Mary Timoney is bass player. She's been in a whole lot of shit too. And once again, a drummer who I don't really know, but he's very good. And they make, so let's set the stage. If you know what I'm saying, then I'm talking to the people out there. It's produced by Ian Mackay, engineered by Don Zientra, recorded at Inner Ear Studios on Discord Records. Those words I all just said, that's how the album sounds. And if somebody came to me and said, here's the people that are in this band, here's who's recording it, here's where it's coming out, I would have a really high bar set, like, oh, this better sound like this. This album is beyond that for me. Because it is it's the post-punk kind of post-hardcore, whatever you want to call it, kind of thing. And there's some punky elements in it. There's some sort of more indie, for lack of a better term, elements to it. Shouty vocals, spoken vocals kind of thing. It just has an urgency, the kind of urgency that bands like Fugazi and bands like that were doing for a long time, and not very many people do it now. And if they do it now, they don't really get it right. And over here in America, at least, the current climate of our world, politically and socially, an album like this feels so good. It's just, this is the kind of music I want. Yes, I love metal, I love all this other shit, but there's something about this sweet spot of this, Washington D.C. post-punk.
It's the kind of music that you wanted from the kind of people that you wanted, talking about the kinds of things you want those people to talk about.
Maybe, but I also need the music to back that up in a way that sounds urgent and important, and just the way that this is recorded, like there are two, there's a song called Rights and Reproduction, which is fucking amazing, and I think that's the first one they released from this album. But there's a song on here called Abstract City that is probably my favorite song of the year. It's got such an amazing groove to it, and it's one of those rare exceptions where the guitar part is memorable and amazing. The fucking bass line is memorable and amazing. The groove of it is fucking amazing. So anyway, I really like this album, if you couldn't tell.
Well, that is Abstract City playing in the background there.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely, I'm chuffed to bits for you. I really am. I hear everything you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, when I hear this music, what I hear is the worst part of 80s British indie. I hear the most piss weak guitar sound that I've heard in a long time. I mean, we're going back 30 years now.
Well, for what they're trying to do, it's very appropriate.
So that's wonderful.
Okay,
that's wonderful, and I'm pleased for them. However, for me, the roots of where they're coming from are not roots that I share.
Okay,
Fugazi was never a thing for me.
They're a big thing for me.
Yeah, like indie punk, indie post-punk. Like, take the fuck your indie out of my punk. That's my problem. So where they're coming from, they come from a city that I hate everybody that lives in it. So the chances of these 4 individuals coming out and being people that I'd like, very, very slim. The musical influences and the musical references here are all stuff that at one time or another I have gone, it doesn't really work for me. Not really interested. Not really my vibe. And apart from one song sounding like the Sperm Birds on this album, it pretty much went poof.
Okay.
To me, it was, just like.
You made a good point, because I think I know where the line is drawn between you and I, because the 80s punk music, for the most part, to me, is dreadful. Like, there's very few just punk bands that I hear and go, oh, that's really good. It's usually just not very well thought out, and like, let's throw together a couple chords and yell some stuff, and then that's the end of the song. And I think that's why I went towards the post-punk and post-hardcore scenes, because they took music that I thought just wasn't quite good enough, and they just pushed it forward. But it's the same thing where, like, I know you're a big Dead Kennedys fan, and I like the Dead Kennedys as well, but there's a certain point in their music where I go, they could have done so much better with this stuff, because I think vocally Jello Biafra is amazing, and sometimes the music is very just like, and I'm like, well, can't you give them something better to do shit over? And so that's my problem with, like, quote unquote punk. So you bring up in a band like this, who's has this record that just sounds like it just could have come out in 1989.
Absolutely.
And if that's something that you're wanting, this album's amazing. If that's not what you're wanting, I can absolutely. It's interesting, because Fugazi is a band that I absolutely know that I say the name and I'm expecting one of 2 reactions. It's either like fuck yeah, or I don't get it. It's not really my thing. And I'm just like, and I absolutely get it. And I think that's probably why I hold on to some of those bands so tightly, because they mean a lot to me. But it's like fucking Saint Anger. I love that album, and I love it more because people are like, oh, this is awful, or why is this any good, or why do people listen to this? And I'm like, well, I mean, some of us enjoy it. I don't know, but I get where you're coming from.
But no, absolutely. And again, as you were talking about the album, I was thinking, God damn, I wish I liked this. Because you're making some really good points. It's like, and reproductive rights, but I'm like, woo, right behind it. For me, their message is too gracefully communicated. If you give me, right, you've got these people from these bands on this label at this time, I want them to punch me in the fucking face.
Gotcha.
And then while I'm on the floor, kick the shit out of me. This lot are going to take me for tea and have a chat. Yeah. That's not what I'm after.
So if you're really in the grand scheme of things that are related to this, you would be more into Minor Threat than anything else.
Again, Minor Threat is somebody who's passed me by. I know. It's
because that is exactly what you're talking about. It's a lot more direct and in your face. And
yes, but music is not linear. I have this argument with a particular member of the band all the time who says, "Do you like so and so?" And I say no, and he always looks like amazed. And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, because you like so and so, and you like so and so. So I presumed that. Well, if music worked like that, there'd be one band, one album, one song. It doesn't. We all have our bizarre. I mean, the amount of times you must recommend music to a friend, and you're like, "Oh, fucking hell, and they're like, "Don't get it," and you're like, "Ooh.
Oh shit, yeah."
But this is all the hallmarks of everything you like, and you're still wrong. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of it.
I think I annoy people online because they constantly do that. They'll be like, "Listen to this thrash album. This thrash album has everything you love," and I go, "I don't want any of these things anymore. I've already had them."
Well, I think we legendarily pissed somebody off on this podcast for putting in loads of effort that we were completely unaware of stuff that we should like,
Yeah.
that we either didn't pick or didn't like, which again, like I said, that way lies madness. Trying to be like, oh yeah, this person will like this music.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. That really doesn't. It's otherwise it's like, as human beings, your music and your loves, they're as close to, that's like being able to say, oh, I can match that person with the perfect partner, no problem. It's like,
oh yeah,
no, you can't.
Yep.
Not stop a few people trying, but
well, anyway, but I think we've nailed that one. But yeah,
have we done like 2 albums in about 45 minutes?
We've done 3. We've done 3.
Oh yeah, we have. Shit, yeah. Sorry,
I've only got 2 more, but maybe we should go into yours that I'm not going to be talking about and see if it's one that I've even heard, because I don't.
Okay,
know
well, I mean, Lamb of God, isn't it?
Oh, okay. I haven't heard it, so
okay. Well, you're not missed much. Lamb of God.
All right, moving on.
yeah. I was talking about it somebody the other day. It was on one of the podcast Patreon Zoom things. I was like, what do we all think of Lamb of God? And somebody went, yeah, it's all right, isn't it? It's another Lamb of God album, isn't it? It's not going to change the world. And I was like, fucking hell, put that on the sticker. You can just imagine that in the album, in the shop, can't you?
Yeah.
It's just there. Another new Lamb of God album.
Yeah,
it's all right, isn't it? It's not going to change the world.
I tried really hard to get into Lamb of God because there were a lot of people I knew who had great taste in music, who were really into Lamb of God, and really on paper.
Oh, did you just do a Freudian slip then? And did you just come up with Lame of God?
Oh, I did not, but I didn't do it on purpose. But Lame of God, all right.
Oh, we like that.
Yeah, but yeah,
of course. If anyone from the band or management is watching, fucking love you. Please come on the podcast.
Oh yeah, Randy and I go way back. No, we don't.
Dave.
But what?
Dave,
whatever.
Dave Blythe. Dave Blythe. Middle name Randy.
Oh, okay.
Randall.
Whatever
his
name
is. Randall
is.
Dave Blythe. That's it. Sorry.
Okay. Well, now that we've got his name sorted out. But yeah, on paper, I should like this band. And I remember I bought, was it called Wrath? Was that one of their albums when it came out?
Yeah, I've tried.
And I really liked the song. Was it called Set to Fail? I thought it was fantastic. And then the rest of the album, I was like, oh, I like this bit. This bit doesn't really do it for me. And then they put out another album where I go, there's a lot of bits that don't do it for me. And so like my attempt to really get into them just fizzled out pretty quickly. Yeah. And but that being said, I don't hear them and go, this is shit. I hear it and go, all right, it's fine for what it is.
And funnily enough, you'd like the song Gomorrah, which funnily enough is on the latest episode of Radio Bollocks, available only on Patreon, folks.
Have I missed that? When did you post that? Did I miss it?
Sunday night.
Oh, okay. I just haven't gotten around. Okay.
So that came out last night to pretty with this once it's out.
I was busy watching the movie Nope last night, which was pretty fucking great. Oh, it was great. It's fucking great movie.
90 minutes. Unfortunately,
2 hours.
yes, that's the problem. A whole half an hour that's completely wasted. The whole 40-minute opening act where nothing happens, and structurally all over the place.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved it.
We're just taking it. We've just got off. We've managed to find something else we disagree on, folks. So we'll be back with music in just a minute.
No, but we'll jump back to Lame of God.
Yes, lame of God. Lame of God. Give me some Lame of God. So you'd love the song Gomorrah because the chorus is "Everything is doomed to fail."
Okay,
a reference back to the song that you liked.
Interesting.
On Wrath. Now, basically, I didn't like Lamb of God until the last album, Lamb of God, which came out in lockdown. And I really, really liked it. Really liked it. Still do.
Okay.
After about 2 or 3 listens to this album, bearing in mind this is the first time I've looked forward to a Lamb of God album coming out. First one I liked and was a surprise. So this is a new place that I'm in. Mm-hmm. So then I get the new Lamb of God album that I'm excited about for the first time. And after a couple of listens, I go, right. so you're that band. You're the band that just that's it, isn't it? You're that band. That is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
That is what you're always going to do, and that is what I should have expected, but I didn't. I thought there was going to be a bit more than that, but there isn't. It's just that.
Yeah,
and that's what they do. So it's a bit bro metal, you know. It's it's all right. I like Randy's lyrics. I like his vocals a lot more than I used to, which I thought. I mean, in the early years, I think they're fucking terrible. But I like what he does now.
I also my connection to this band is I've had numerous people pass me by and ask me if I'm Mark Morrison or whatever his name is. And I'm like,
right.
And I'm like, no. I mean, and so I've started saying like, yeah, it's my cousin, you know, just because why not?
Why not? Well,
but I'm like, he is a much better looking dude than me. So, you know.
well, this and the other thing about the album as well is that they're very excited and telling everybody that who'll fucking listen that they recorded it live. And you listen to it and you go, okay, well, that's why people don't record live albums anymore. That's why it's not recorded like that. Don't get me wrong, the production is all right. It's for what it is, but the frustrating part is that the guitar tone is great. He has a unique fucking Lamb of God, really cool metal guitar tone.
Yeah,
but where it sits in the mix, it's not. It's just not getting the room it needs. It's not as fat. It doesn't all work together. It literally, you listen to it, and honestly, I physically want to reach for the stereo and just bring that guitar just a little bit more up in the mix.
Yeah.
And the only reason that you increase the volume of a sound is because that sound is shit. So it needs to be louder. Yeah. Because frequencies are frequencies. So when you mix, often, like, you know, you get somebody in a band saying, like, you might have a bass player saying, oh, you know, can you just give it a little bit there? And it's like, well, no, because if I give you a little bit of volume there, your frequency just trips into the bass guitar and not into the bass guitar, but into the bottom end of the guitar and to the bass drums. And basically, if I shift you up a little bit, you'll just disappear and you won't be heard at all. And that is how it feels. It feels like an album that was somebody was mixing it, ripping their fucking flesh off themselves, going, why did you have to fucking record this live? You know, because the old fix it in the mix, you can't. That's the joke of fix it in the mix. You can't. You've got everything that you've got is what you've got. In the mix, you don't create stuff that's suddenly going to make everything better. No, you create everything. Mixing it is just putting it all in the right place and the right level. So if you ain't got it, it's not going to be there in the mix. And the production for me, the guitar suffers. And to that end, it's all right. I've played it a few times. I must admit, I'm liking it a bit more now. But it's, at the moment, I would say it's a 3 out of 5 at best for me.
Okay,
you know,
I'm sure I'll hear one song on Radio Bollocks, but I'm sure I'll probably go and like I usually listen to a couple songs from the big metal releases just to, you know, if somebody asks me, I'll, you know, or I could have done it for this fucking show, but I totally forgot that album came out. Anyway,
well, you've been a bit. Well, let's face it. We both forgot that the Slipknot album came out. We both forgot to mention it to each other, and we've still managed to review it. So who gives a shit?
Well, let's move on to the last one of like a pick that I sent to you.
Yeah.
Which is the second full-length album from a Norwegian band called Vorbid. And when I say Norwegian, I don't mean black metal, because they're not black metal at all. Yeah. Very far from it. The album's called A Swan by the Edge of Mandala. Okay.
Yeah. Because that is not a pretentious album title.
No, not at all. Not at all. And this is a band that was already on my radar because their last album, which is called Mind, that came out in 2018, was one of my favorites of that year. And it's very different. At that point, they were still technical and progressive, but much more just a thrash band that was kind of pushing things all over the place. And the vocalist had way more a high pitch kind of thing going on with his screaming. Now with this new album, they've gone full prog.
They've
big
grown up.
It's like, do you like big sprawling epic proggy metal songs that are in my opinion insanely well produced? I think this album sounds fantastic. And but also drums, you get some odd time signatures everywhere you turn. You get some screamy vocals that people are going to compare to Vector, because he does now what he's doing sounds very similar. And then I think there's a new guy that he's the guy that does the singy parts, which also I think sound really good. One song has fucking Chris Poland doing a solo on it. And I love all of these things. This is a band that's doing this kind of thing in a way that I like it, because there's still really great riffs all the way through it, really tight performances, great production. I really enjoy this album. My two gripes about this album are, number one, it's too long. Some of the songs are longer than I feel like they need to be. But that's neither here nor there, because you could say that if you're a really big fan of something, you have more to listen to. So, whatever. But my other gripe about it is I feel like the odd time signature things are abused on this album, where I think that there are some parts that I believe would be much stronger with a standard 4/4 or 3/4 or something like that underneath it. So occasionally a song will go into a part where it's another. I'm like, okay, well, they did that, and what they're playing might be cooler if they just let it breathe a little bit. But those are two really minor gripes for me, because overall, I think for what they're doing, I mean, the people that are into that kind of metal, I can't imagine them not loving this, because I just think it's very well done. But yeah, a bit too long, but it's great. What did you think about it?
I thought your review was a bit too long. Well, firstly, I agree with a lot of stuff you said. Apart from the production, I think for me, one of the stumbling blocks for the album is the drum production.
Oh, I love it. I love the way the drums sound. That's it. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, I like a snare drum, and there isn't one on the album, which is a real shame.
Well, what do you want? Do you want Saint Anger, or do you?
What I'd like
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. But what I'd actually like is a snare drum. It's called a snare drum. What you've got on this album is a drum. Only when they're only.
It's just a thick snare sound.
But only when there's double hits do you get any snare. That's because the snare, basically, you heard these drum sounds over the years. And sometimes someone somewhere goes, hey, why don't we just do it and take a lot of the snare off, because it will work better with the overall production. So sometimes I think those decisions
goes well with it.
But sometimes those decisions are made for that reason. But for me, it just stood out straight away. For me, the whole album sounds like the band are in one house and the drummer is across the street laying his drums down in a garage in another house.
Okay.
And that's how it sounds like it was recorded. And it's literally drums here, everything else on top, but you can still hear the drums entirely on their own. Yeah, everything else is there.
Yeah.
But it's literally like we've recorded the drums, they're absolutely perfect. And now we'll put everything else on top, but we mustn't touch the drums. And so it's a little unstable for me, the production, and at times I think it really suffers. But fucking hell, what a set of musicians! Some fantastic songs on there, some fantastic song parts as well, and other songs where you're like, this is awesome. It's a shame there's another hour of this.
Yeah,
there's not, but there is some songs over 10 minutes long, folks.
Yeah, few.
Yeah. But it's also the kind of album that you listen to and you think, right, okay, this is so good and it's of such a high standard. Why the fuck didn't I already know about these people? Why weren't they on my radar? Because this is the kind of shit that, people need to be, chasing down, listening to. For me, I got a vibe of it. I'm a big Haken fan. I haven't always been, again, a band I discovered in lockdown, but I'm a big fan of Haken. Now, Haken remind me of where Vorbid will be in 10 to 15 years time.
Okay.
When they shave the rough edges off, when they go light. So basically, if you're into kind of proggy stuff like, Vector, Dream Theater, stuff like that, there's a lot to like here. There is a lot to like here. Now, if you're a Dream Theater fan and you don't like type vocals, there's going to be some bits that you're going to find very hard to deal with, because the dude sounds like the man from Vector. He does. Scarily accurately like him. And the first song only has these screechy vocals on. So when you'd sent it to me, I was like, this is interesting. Okay, right, fair enough. Musically, it's one thing. Vocally, it's completely another. Because it was like, well, this is kind of prog, but with those vocals, it's getting dragged towards sort of, prog, death prog, something like that. Then the second track, and I'm like, oh, hang on. Oh, this is not what I thought it was at all. It's literally like I've walked into a place to hook up with a girl, and after the first song, I've realized I'm in a gay bar. I say, whoa, what the fuck is this? Then it's like, wow, track 2. Like
but he's a very attractive man that you're meeting up with.
Oh dear. Let's ditch this analogy.
But I really do. I like the way the first 3 tracks, the way they play out. I think it's pretty brilliant, because the first one, all the sort of shouty vocals. Number 2, some shouty, a little bit of singing. Track 3, full on singing, and it sounds fucking brilliant. And I just think that that's such a smart way to do it, especially for me as a fan, because if you listen to their last album, the vocals are, he has an even higher pitched thing, and he only does that the whole album.
It's like the opposite of what Slipknot did at the beginning of their album.
Oh, well, yeah.
Basically.
I guess.
Yeah. Screechy at the beginning, singing at the beginning.
Yeah. You're right. But I really do like that it was real classy to me, the way, as a guy who was already a fan of this band, the way that they kind of brought me into, like, oh, we're being more proggy now, but here's the way we're leading you into this, and here's the way we're leading you in with the singing. I thought it's pretty damn well done.
You felt like they put some care into it, like,
yes,
Mr. Head, you have returned. Please,
they thought of me. Yeah,
your room is awaiting. It's not quite how you remember it, but don't worry, everything will be all right.
Yeah.
2 chocolates on the pillow. Nice.
Oh, all right. I feel special.
I have to thank you. I have to thank you for sending me this. Blame you for sending me Hammered Hulls. Thank you for. Do you know what? Do you know what as well? Do you know what I couldn't get over with Hammered Hulls? Sorry, complete tangent. At times, it sounds British. I was just chuckling listening to it, going, "I know why you like this. Fuck off." I know why you like this.
Which is funny, because it sounds nothing British to me, because all the bands that I equate it with are American bands.
Right.
Like, Fugazi and Mission of Burma and all these bands, they're all American bands.
Yeah, but that's great. But why am I hearing the fucking Smiths? And that's the last thing I want to hear.
Where the fuck is that? Oh, did I send you the wrong album?
Because that's, if they're drawing from those influences, that's where I'm hearing it.
Are you talking about the guitar? Is the guitar reminding you of Johnny Marr or something? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I don't get that, but it makes sense.
Too much happiness, too much jangly. No, I'm out.
Okay.
That's anyway.
Back to Vorbid, where the guitars are big and you love them.
Yeah. Keep positive. Keep it positive, folks.
Yeah.
It's great. I honestly, that Vorbid album, big time surprise. And I've mentioned it to my best mate, who's a real metal gatekeeper, and already he's like, he hasn't even played it, but he's been doing the research, and he's like, It's like he's already like imagining what it's going to sound like. I'm like, just fucking play it.
Mhm.
But it's not the kind of thing you can usually play around, people who aren't into metal and children.
Nah, not
But
really.
but yeah, I mean, I'm saying if you're in any way into kind of proggy metal, if you're into, stuff Periphery,
Hmm.
and bands like that, math metal and stuff like that. It doesn't go that far,
No.
but it's it will keep you entertained. It really will keep you entertained. The heavier end of Dream Theater, and at times there are just beautiful passages of music, and at times there are brutal passages of music. And I have
Hmm.
to say, I do slightly agree with your observation about obscure time signatures being dipped in and out of a bit too much and being dwelled on a
Yeah.
little bit too long. But again, I always think that is the price you pay when you step into the world of prog. You may end up sitting there for 5 minutes listening to the same riff going,
Yeah.
yeah, this band's maybe not for me. For some people it's Tool, who for me many, many years ago passed through prog and entered a whole new realm of falling asleep on the job.
Oh yeah.
And it's
I
like we're playing the
absolutely agree.
yeah. It's like we're not playing this riff for 10 minutes because it's musically beneficial. We're doing it because we have fallen asleep.
Yeah.
And we can't actually remember why we started playing this riff, which is how Tool sounds to me these days. But for less proggy stuff than that, it's great. But yeah, the world of prog does mean occasionally you're going to be in a song thinking, guys, really, this is probably not as long as you wanted to do this. So let's
Yeah.
let's change it.
I'm hoping that if they continue a progression where they're screwing with their sound on every album, maybe they'll come together and do their condensed version of this, where they're
Yeah,
like, hey, let's make some 4 to 5 minute tracks where we just do the best bits of everything, and
yeah.
maybe the melodic vocals take over. And I don't know, if the Vorbid guys are watching, that's a suggestion for the next one.
um Actually, there was another album, but you didn't send it to me because I already had it, obviously.
Oh, the other one I was going to do.
Right. Well, what I was going to say is, why don't we do that when that comes out?
I was thinking it's supposed to come out. Well, you want to wait? I didn't know if you wanted to go ahead and do it and tease it for the future for people to look forward to, but it's
Well,
perfectly
yeah.
fine.
Well, yeah, but what I was thinking is we may well get somebody from the band on here
Okay.
and we'll have a chat.
Well, we're not even going to tell you guys what that album was that we were going to do.
Yeah, exactly. And yet again as well, by the way, yeah, we're just figuring it out while you're listening. Okay.
Yeah.
Why actually do any work at all?
We finished all of the albums we're going to talk about, and now we had a meeting, and you got to be in on the meeting.
Absolutely.
So don't say we
yeah.
never gave you anything extra, because that
Yeah.
was it right there.
Damn straight. And I'll have him. I'll have somebody on the podcast, on the Talking Bollocks podcast as well, from right here. But yeah, we'll do a proper kind of breakdown, something
I'm
like
down.
that.
I'm down with that.
Well, I think it's another aspect to the world of old bollocks as well, isn't it?
I'm all about expanding things. So yeah. So that's it. That's all we've done all the albums we're going to talk about. I mean, that's a good amount that we've done here.
That's a very good amount. And also, you've now got to suffer my live review of Sepultura and Sacred Reich and Clutch from
it was Clutch that opened for them?
Brixton. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Crowbar that was opening for them.
No, you're right. It was Crowbar, but there you go. Crowbar, Clutch, whatever.
I saw that. I saw this tour here, so I can talk about it as well.
There you go. Well, it's basically dirgy.
It's doom. It's sludgy doom metal kind of shit.
You see, I don't like
Crowbar.
It sounds like doom. And for sludge, my other description of sludge is also one word, which is lazy.
No,
it's just fucking late. I got a riff. I'm gonna play this for 10 minutes.
Oh, trust me. I am that dude that when everyone comes out and says, "Did you know Sleep's going to put out another album?" I'm like, they don't need to put out any more albums ever. Like I have nothing against them, but it's like, man, I've heard it. I've heard everything they have to offer in like 10 minutes of one album. That's it.
Sludge to me is grew out of groove metal, and it's groove metal without the groove. You've just got sludge. You've got the fucking remains. You've got what's left. It's even called sludge.
That's the most appropriate name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You see it in the street and you think this beautiful white covering, groove metal, that was fine. So but a few days later, it looks like brown shit, and that's sludge.
So that being said, the beginning of the show didn't do it for you.
Luckily, I was still on the way there.
Okay. I actually saw Crowbar, and I'm not really a huge fan, but I enjoyed some of the things that they did, and they played the one song I really liked that they do. And I stood near the back with a beer in my hand, and I enjoyed myself. That was my Crowbar experience.
Fair enough. I stood and watched Sacred Reich with Kurt from Crowbar.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, not mentioning that I was late and missed his band, and also didn't care. Yeah. So anyway, Sacred Reich, to me, it was all right. It felt a little. Let's run through the songs here.
When I saw them here, they were great. But I'm also a massive fan, so that's a different story.
And again, I'm not a massive fan. I came in halfway through. I heard Death Squad and Surf Nicaragua, so I was happy.
Yeah.
And they went down really well. So but for me, it was like Sepultura, just like next level. So absolutely.
Yeah. So seeing them live, I didn't actually stay for all of the Sepultura set, but that's mostly because it was in the middle of the week and I had to get home. But the one thing I do remember was that they may still be playing the same set. I don't know. They started with the first track off of Quadra.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy shit, this is great.
Yeah.
And then I may have mentioned this before on this very show or somewhere, where then they played, I think it was Refuse, Resist, or Territory. And I just went, oh man, because it doesn't sound right. I don't know why. The vocals don't sound right. One guitar doesn't sound right.
It's the one guitar. It's the one guitar.
So it was kind of a letdown. But then I think a little bit later, I heard they played one more newer or Derek Green era track, and I was just like, just fucking give me that. Leave the Mac shit behind.
Means to an end.
That's probably it. Album. Yeah. They sound fantastic when they do that newer shit.
Yeah. Well, I was with someone from the label, and I turned to them and said, like, conclusions re Sepultura. Firstly, the little bits of production they added to the set to flesh the songs out from Quadra were perfect.
Yeah.
They had the effects, but they didn't try and, layer a guitar in a background or anything like that. So Andreas is still doing all the heavy lifting, but they were bringing all of the residual effects that are on that album to make it sound fuller and more like the album, which worked perfectly.
Yeah.
There was also just like, for me, when I've seen Sepultura in the past, it's been, they've done a chunk of old stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, hey, does everybody remember? Whoa, we're going to do some old stuff. And they play the hits. Whereas with this, what it felt like to me was, they were touring the new album, and occasionally they threw in an old Sepultura song from the old lineup. So they played, they played Refuse, Resist. They played Dead Embryonic Cells. They probably played the songs that, they played when you saw them.
I'm sure they played Arise as well, because that seems like one that everyone wants to hear.
And I think they played Arise, and And I thought this is a band who are comfortable in their own skin. They're like they're doing the occasional song from before Derek, from Mac's era.
Yeah.
But they're doing it now like they want to, and like it's in the set for a reason, as opposed to playing the songs they wanted to play and then going, right, and we'll fucking have to do this lot, by the way, as well. So we'll do that lot as well. And I also felt, bizarrely, I was there. I couldn't believe it. I was genuinely there to hear songs from Quadra.
Yeah.
And when they went into Territory, I was like, oh, that's a nice surprise. Yeah. That's lovely. And as soon as it's finished, and it was like, right, back to new album, means to an end. Oh, hell yes.
Yeah. I kind of, it makes sense to me, because I think if I was in a band like that, I wouldn't want to just say fuck you to the fans that like the old shit. But there is a part of me that if they advertised a tour and they go, Sepultura, we're only playing Derek Green era songs, I'd be like, I'm fucking there. I'm absolutely there to hear a set where they only play those. Because there's plenty of, from the last three albums are like the three of the best that they've ever done. And I would love it if they just played shitloads from those, because I just think that it would be a fantastic show.
Well, somebody else put on social media as well, which I thought was absolutely spot on. Maybe in another 20 to 30 years, Andreas will actually age.
that is true. That is true. He looks like the same dude.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got the same enthusiasm. And the thing is, I was supposed to be doing an interview with Phil, which got pulled. I spoke to the label. I'm hoping to get to do a catch up with Andreas over the phone, because back in lockdown, I did 3 and go finding people that are on YouTube and all the rest of it. But I did 3 Quadra session interviews. I did Andreas, I did Derek, and I did Jens, the producer. And I did about an hour and a half with Andreas. It's one of my favorite interviews that I've done. And funnily enough, one of his too, who's like super enthusiastic and super cool about, right. Yeah. I basically messaged him and said, look, I've got you and I've got Derek that I'd interviewed separately. And I thought, I can get Jens. How about I put these together and, I give them to you for Sepulquadra, which is what they were doing to stop themselves going mad.
Yeah.
Because they were due to get on a plane 2 days before lockdown. So we did all that. So, Sepultura launched them all on their website and on Sepulquadra and all the rest of it. And I was emailing with Andreas and their webmaster and all the rest of it. And I really want to get a conversation with him, even if it's just like 15, 20 minutes, because the last time we spoke, it was about being able to do what they're doing now. And I could not get the smile off my face from the minute Sepultura came on to the minute I went to bed. I smiled the whole set. I smiled all the way to my car. I smiled all the way home. I went to bed smiling, partly because we're all back there. Yeah. But especially after what Andreas has been through recently as well, on top of everything else, seeing that man up there doing this, and I could sense the sense of loss in his voice when we were talking about the fact their entire world tour had gone down the tubes. And I just want to speak to him and not hear that in his voice, you know, and just say, dude, we made it. And by the way, you fucking ruled. It was awesome. Had to wait how many years? They should have been over in March 2020. Yeah. And it's now November 2022. But boy, it was worth it. They were absolutely superb.
That's a good that's a good way to wrap this up. By the way, speaking of interviews, when this episode comes out, it will have already come out. But I actually just did an interview with Mark DeVito,
Yay!
We hooked up and we did like an hour and a half chat, and you've already talked to him, so I literally just I let him go, and it's a really great interview, and like I got to thank you for hooking me up with him because he was
not at all, man, not at all. Mark's an absolute sweetheart.
He was a great dude, and he gave me an incredible deal on the Metallica fan cans. So those are en route to my house right now.
Oh, that is awesome.
So yeah, happy ending to all that shit because I got to talk to that dude, and he was awesome. And at the same time, everyone that's made it this far into this video, I will be doing unboxing videos because I don't know anything about the fan cans. They were a thing I couldn't afford back in the day. Yeah. And now I'm just like getting
and now you still can't afford them, but fuck it.
That's true. They were actually more expensive now, oddly enough. but in the 90s, I had zero money to go towards anything. So that's going to be a thing. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been dipping my toe and trying to do the interview thing because I have a blast doing it. Yeah. And so that's a fun one too.
The golden rule I have is I don't interview anybody I don't want to interview.
That's what I've been doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And people, it's like, I do get people from record labels or PRs and stuff like that saying, would you be interested? And my stock line is usually, I don't think that my listeners would really get vibe with that, except whatever it is, which is always better than no, I have absolutely no interest because I do not like that artist in any way.
I don't know if you saw it, but like just recently, Cranked and Ranked, we interviewed Jason Bieler from Saigon Kick. Like he came on to our show.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, it came out last week. That episode came out, and that's a guy. I don't know if you've interviewed him before, but I highly recommend it because he is another one of those guys that he will give you 150% of an interview. Yeah. Like he was great. So yeah, it's just cool to keep doing these things. I know this is Old Bollocks us we're chatting on Old Bollocks at the end. So.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the end bit. Yeah. I mean, you can listen if you want, or you can just fucking switch off and go about your day. It's all cool. It's all cool. Yeah. Funnily enough, I saw on social media that you'd put the lizard up on green vinyl. Who would have fucking thought of that? That's like Acid Rain putting Obnoxious out on pink vinyl. But you said a reissue. I noticed reissue, not remaster.
No, it's not remastered. It was like a record store day thing that came out, and I missed it at the time, but I waited until I found an affordable copy of it. That being said, it's a fantastic album. It is a not very good vinyl pressing. It's like here's a controversial opinion. Here's a hot take for you. Record store day.
Old bands reissuing shit should be banned. Record store day. Let's stop blocking up the world of fucking vinyl plants, and let's have some new albums by some new bands actually fucking being able to come out at the same time as the other formats, because a bunch of old cunts are sticking out stuff that has no different to the last release, except well, it's a different color.
To be fair, like I agree with you halfway, because there's most record store days there aren't things that I want, but occasionally there are things like Voivod releases an album that's never been on vinyl before, and I'm just like, oh shit, cool, I'm gonna go get this. That kind of thing.
What was that?
That was no, it was The Outer Limits was the last one, I think. Was it that one? I don't remember which one. I don't think it's ever been on vinyl at all. And it was like, well, shit, I had to get this.
The Outer Limits is just a fucking marvelous record.
Yeah, I agree. But there's been a few reissues of Voivod, and since I don't have $150 to fork over for an old copy of some of their stuff, it's nice to get Nothing Face or Angel Rat on vinyl.
Absolutely. And if only we could get a Nothing Face reissue.
We did. I got it. Yeah, it was another record store day one.
Right. Okay.
I guarantee you can find it. I can probably send you a link to buy it from somebody.
No. Let me correct myself. A remaster from the originals.
I do not care about remasters. It never improves the album at all. It's all I like the album the way that it sounded at the time.
It improves the sound. I love a remaster.
I'm all about the sound, how it sounded when it came out. If there were limitations at the time, I want those limitations are a part of the recording for me. So I always want that.
Right. Okay. Whereas I'm like, oh, like that's finally got a little bit more bass that was missing the first time.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I get both of them. I get both. We're literally like, it's like no, and you're yes, and then you're yes, and I'm no, but it's fine.
and that's why we work so well together, right there.
There you
go. Yin and yang, as they say.
You think we work well together? Fuck you.
You know what? I see your point.
I see your point, and I raise you a fuck off. But yeah, but again, Saigon Kick. There's a band from the 90s that like I remember there was about 5 of us who knew who Saigon Kick were and would get their stuff as soon as it came out. And we carried on buying those records that they used to release and that went all weird until they just stopped coming out.
Yeah.
And always I was just amazed at, I mean, straight away I'm thinking of the song What Do You Do from the first album, right? I can sing that whole fucking chorus now. It's there. I haven't listened to the album in years.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to that song in years, but I can fucking sing the whole thing now. And there's just, in
my opinion, those albums have aged incredibly well because the variety of songs and the musicianship on them, I think they're, well, we did a whole Cranked and Ranked, and then like he actually saw the Cranked and Ranked and then emailed me, and I was like, hey, you want to come on the show? And he's like, absolutely. And then we did an interview. So it was.
I was going to say to you, how did you get Jason Bieler? You didn't. He found you.
He literally just emailed me and said, hey, that was really fun. Thank you for doing the shit on Saigon Kick. And I was like, hey, do you want to come on the show? Because on the episode we say, wouldn't it be cool? Because we had all these questions. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we could just talk to him? And then we did. So
that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go and listen to that now, or not, because I now want to get Jason Bieler on my podcast, and
absolutely do it.
Because otherwise I'll have heard the stuff. Well, do you know what? You shared some great albums with me. Can you share his contacts if you don't mind? I
absolutely can.
Cool. Awesome. Well, folks, I think that's us. I think we've got to the end of this meandering path that has been your wander through old Bollocks. How long have we been going now, man? When did we
Has it been an hour and a half or something? I don't really know. I don't it doesn't say the time. I don't know. It's been long enough. Some people have probably switched off already. So
yeah, absolutely. But I like that there's lots of content there. Never said you have to listen to it all. And let's face it, you could have stopped listening about half an hour ago and you wouldn't have missed any reviews.
There are some people that will comment on some of our stuff and my stuff that when it doesn't near the 2-hour mark, they're like, oh, come on, man, couldn't you have done a little bit longer? So I think for a lot of people, like this is I provide them some entertainment, and so I'm like, well, shit, if we can give them a longer episode, we might as well do it.
I love how surprised you are by that. Because I've essentially been providing inverted commas content since I was a teenager for people to comment on, to like, to review, to not like, to slag off, to love, whatever. And you're obviously a lot more, recent to this than that, and so you've still got that kind of like, wow, people actually want to listen to 2 hours and not like an hour and a half.
I will probably never not be surprised that people really enjoy listening to me talk, because I hate listening to me talk, but it is what it is.
But right now, earphones are flying out of ears and headphones are falling off heads because so many people are nodding with that last statement with in agreement. No one likes how their voice sounds when it's recorded, especially when you make a fucking balls up of recording an album as a teenager and put it out and you still have to listen to it as a 52-year-old man. But hey, These things are sent to try us. So, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely.
Let's not communicate about what we're going to review next month either, because that seemed to work out really well.
Maybe I'll pick and choose what I share with you, and then we'll have some surprises. We always do. We always have. It's always a surprise.
Absolutely. Although my only surprise will be the lack of release. Well, it's not a surprise, but the lack of releases coming out now because we're getting close to Christmas. Traditionally, October is about the very, very latest that you want to release an album.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything coming out in December.
Forget it, mate.
No.
No. If someone's releasing something in December, stay well away.
Yeah,
they are. It's a contractual obligation which they'd prefer to not release at all. But if you're gonna release it, put it out in December.
Noted.
Or it's a Neil Diamond Christmas album.
Or Billy Idol Christmas album.
There is a Neil Diamond Christmas album this year. It's called Neil Diamond's Christmas, and I was thinking there's a word missing from that sentence.
What word?
Last.
Oh shit! Oh my god! It got dark.
It might be. And don't get me wrong, I don't want it to be, because the guy has got a voice that is incredible. Absolutely fucking incredible. Honestly, if anybody listening to this could give a shit and you want to hear a really good voice, Neil Diamond, listen to the song The Jazz Singer, Love on the Rocks, Love on the Rocks.
I love that song. Love on the Rocks is a fucking great song.
I used to warm up doing that.
Oh yeah.
And I stopped because the amount of times people would stick their head in the dressing room or something like that to go, oh, that's really cool. And it's like, I can't fucking talk to you. I'm doing my warm-ups. Now this is awkward. But amazing tune. But also, Hell Yeah, off 12 songs that he recorded with Rick Rubin. Neil Diamond had no interest in recording new music anymore, or recording new songs. And Rick Rubin went, "I'm in the studio with me. We're gonna do 12 new songs." And the album is called 12 Songs, and it's great. And there's a song on there called
When was this?
Oh god, this is about 15 years ago.
Okay, I've never heard it.
And the song that I'm talking about is called Hell Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had passed away fairly recently around that time, and I discovered the song Hell Yeah by Neil Diamond, and it kind of he encapsulates his whole life in this song. And it's basically like, sometimes I've been poor, sometimes I've been really down. I've always had a song in my heart. I've always been able to do this for a living. I'm so fucking lucky. Yeah. And if people ask me, was it good? Did you have a good time? Hell yeah, I did. And it's a beautiful song, incredible voice, incredibly uplifting. Go and listen to it now, whatever you're doing.
I have to, because I'm all like, Neil Diamond produced by Rick Rubin. I'm down for that. That sounds pretty great.
Oh, dude. Hell yeah. I think, and I'm pretty sure the album's called 12 Songs. Yeah, it's awesome, sweet. Man.
That is that's a good way to wrap this up. Everybody, you didn't think you were going to get a Neil Diamond album review, but now you did.
Absolutely. And I wish that I could stick the song on the end of the podcast, but that ain't happening. Never mind. Yeah. Because the thing is, if it was like some small hardcore band or whatever, you go, fuck it. Yeah, go on. But it's Neil Diamond, man. There's going to be some litigious lawyers from A&M who are like 80 years old and live to find some twat on a podcast stealing Neil's music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I've stopped using all other people's music for my shit. Yes. It's too annoying.
Yeah, it's pointless. It's utterly pointless. Also, whenever you're putting podcasts out, the first thing you do with your podcast provider is you sign an agreement that all content you broadcast, you own.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's good enough. All right, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, fuck it.